this was something more than just pain from doing a hard workout. This was something was not right. I was probably injured. Hey guys, today we're gonna talk a little bit about the not so fun topic of injury, but is very relevant to me right now. So we're gonna spend a few minutes just talking about my injury and just what it looks like where I am now and what things look like going forward, what I've learned from it, and how I'm taking a minor setback and hopefully using it to make big steps forward. Ironically, it was day one of my Boston training plan. Day one. It was I believe 18-week training plan, maybe 20, through the BAA. That's the plan that I used last year and loved it. And I guess I take that back. I had done 2 weeks of just kind of like base running, building up.
You had built your miles up.
I had built my miles up, and the first 2 weeks there's not really any workouts. It's just base training, getting your miles in, lots of easy running. So it was, I guess, week 3, but it was the first workout, the first real workout, and it was hill repeats, which makes sense because it's Boston, and that's something that everybody talks about with Boston is you got to get ready for the Newton Hills at the end, so do lots of hill repeats. So last year I did hill repeats every other week. This was a place that I had done hill repeats lots of times before. It was very familiar, and I did 6. Well, I was supposed to do 6. And I think I got maybe about halfway, and something just didn't quite.
Hold on, let's stop there. 6 by, these are not just like short hill sprints.
Correct. So about 1/4 of a mile, 400 meters uphill, pause, and then go downhill fairly hard just to prepare your quads for the downhills in Boston towards the end. So
it's a fairly intense workout.
Yes.
On both the uphills and the downhills. You're working hard both ways.
Yes. Just something didn't quite feel right in my left hamstring. And
did you feel a pull, a snap, pop?
I did not hear a pop, anything like that. It just hurt. And I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I just figured, well, I'm doing hard work today, so maybe my muscles just are hurting because I'm doing some hard work. And so I pushed through and kept going, ran back down. I could tell something just wasn't quite right, and I tried to start on the last one, which would have been 6, and I couldn't even make it 10 feet. I had to stop. And I knew at that point that this was something more than just pain from doing a hard workout. This was something was not right. I was probably injured. So unfortunately, I still had to jog 2 miles back to my car. But I was able to do that. It was the going uphill that I was just not able to do.
So you went from 10 out of 10, highest of highs, getting started, excited about the training. Where would you say your emotions were at that point when you realized this might change the whole training plan?
Yeah, it was terrible. I really thought when I got back to my car, my mind went automatically to the worst place. Oh no, like I ripped a muscle. I'm gonna have to have surgery. I'm not gonna be able to walk. Just downward spiral to the worst possible place.
What was the hardest thing about trying to find, like, what kind of remedy or how to like work through this? What did you find difficult online?
So with the hamstring, there's a lot of conflicting things. There's also a lot of like newer research that comes out that kind of contradicts what used to be considered like standard best practice. Then there's also just like the different phases that your body goes through, that if you don't have a lot of information or a lot of background with injury, which I didn't. I've been so blessed and fortunate that up until this point, I've really only had a few minor. I went to PT for my hip, but other than that, I really haven't dealt with a whole lot of injuries. And so just for the first time being held back by something that was more than just like, I'm always a person of like just sheer willpower and go and get it done. And so not being able to do that was very difficult. But there's just a lot of conflicting information regarding hamstring injuries. There's just not a whole lot that I found very helpful. I really had to dig.
What are some examples?
So like rest it, don't do anything.
Don't lift heavy weights.
Don't lift heavy weights.
And then some others would say lift light weights and do a lot of high reps.
Yes.
And then some others said lift heavy weights. It
Yes.
was just kind of all over the board for.
Yes.
Hey, buddy. Package delivery.
Oh, I got some
Oh.
Thank you. It's some soap. I think it's
What books have you been reading? What have you found helpful? Share a little bit about some interesting things that you have found that doesn't seem to be as contradictory as the wide open internet.
Yeah. So one of the books that I had been wanting to read, and the injury seemed like the perfect time, was Run Less, Run Faster, which is by Bill Pierce and Scott Muir. They have a plan where you run 3 days a week. All 3 of them are
Pretty intense.
key workouts, and then you cross train the other days. And as I was getting into this block, I was trying to figure out how I was going to still incorporate biking and swimming, because I didn't want to lose my fitness in those areas. I was trying to wrap my head around how to do all of that. When I got injured, read this book and just had a lot of really good information, but I think one of the biggest pieces of it was their whole premise is wanting people to be able to run lifelong and enjoy the sport. And really that was kind of a shift for me, because I've always viewed marathon training, and to really reach your full potential, you just need to run as many miles as possible.
High mileage.
That's the only way to do it. Like, that's the only way that you're going to get a PR, is run as many miles as you possibly can. And so that was a shift for me to really think through, and just all of the science behind it, and not only science, but the many, many personal testimonies of people who implemented this plan and got faster running 3 days a week. But not only that, just the benefit that it is to your body when you're not running 100 miles a week, and just what it does to your joints and everything. So that,
some of the intrigue for that was the fact that both of us were coming out of triathlon training where we felt like we were the fittest that we'd ever been when we were only running 3 times a week. And for me, with Chattanooga, most of those runs were really easy runs, or at most like steady pace runs. There was no track work, there wasn't a lot of speed work, and I was in really good shape. You were doing more track work on your run days, but still the combination of biking and running puts you in a really good spot to set a PR in the half marathon.
Yes, and that half PR was strictly coming out of 70.3 training.
Right. So we knew that there was some basis to this before we even looked at the book.
Yeah.
Okay, so that led to thinking about changing from a high mileage, run only training plan to something a little different, which incorporates cross training, which for you is going to be predominantly cycling.
Yes. They also mentioned quite a bit about the importance of strength training a few times a week, stretching, incorporating those things, which every runner knows. It's just kind of a joke, like, yeah, we're supposed to stretch, but who does that?
I don't have time to stretch. I'm gonna go
That
start
doesn't
running.
yield any tangible results.
Right.
I can't upload my stretch to Strava. You don't do it. The other book that I ended up purchasing is called Built from Broken. And this is a more science-y explanation of injuries and how to prevent them, really how our body works. And it has been very interesting, and one of the things that was mentioned in this book, and I've also seen in a couple of like physical therapy YouTube videos that I've watched, has been the importance of heavy loading and really activating those muscles with heavy weights, low reps, and doing those slow and controlled movements with the heavy weights to activate those muscles. So I have been reading this and have been doing exercises every day, like eccentric leg sliders, hip raises, different things to slowly strengthen those muscles that were damaged, while also working on just flexibility and strength in general.
In that book, what have you found to be helpful, or what's something that you learned from that book?
What point do I just kind of need to push through? Not necessarily push through the pain, but like the tightness that I continue to feel. Can I just run, or do I need to wait until everything's gone, no feeling at all in my hamstring? And one of the things that he talks about in the chapter about the anatomy of pain is there are different types of pain. And one is called centralized pain. It occurs when your nervous system amplifies the volume of pain signals. Interestingly, centralized pain often lingers long after the original tissue damage has healed. In many cases of nociceptive pain response to tissue damage, the lingering pain has nothing to do with the injury. Pain receptors have been sensitized, and sometimes new pain receptors have been formed.
What is your goal for getting back? What's your plan over the next couple weeks to get back into the plan? What kind of updates can we expect to get from you?
So I've been slowly starting to jog. I started with jog walk. I've done a couple days of running, just testing, seeing how things feel. My goal this week is to run 3 times. And if everything feels okay, do that again next week. Work towards a little bit longer mileage. I've just done around like 4, so if things are still feeling okay, do 6, work up to 10, and then as long as things continue to feel okay, in 2 weeks I would like to try to start pushing the pace and going a little faster. So that's the goal. Obviously, if I start to feel pain or things don't feel right, I'll scale back. So that concludes the brief story of my injury. Thanks so much for watching till the end. If you are interested in continuing to follow along as we share updates of our journey, our fitness journey, as well as my injury and how it's progressing, click the subscribe button. And if you have dealt with an injury yourself, please comment below and let us know what helped you and what you learned from it. We'll see you next time.
Bye.